Someone in Ohio knew everyone's darkest secrets. Starting in 1976, residents of Circleville, a quiet town south of Columbus, began receiving handwritten letters, deeply personal letters. The writer knew about affairs, financial secrets, private scandals, things only someone close could know. The letters weren't just creepy, they were threatening. One woman, Mary Gillespie, received hundreds of them over the years. Then a booby-trapped sign nearly killed her. A man was later convicted in connection with that trap, but always denied writing the letters. Here's the disturbing part. Even from prison, the letters kept arriving. Investigators could never definitively identify the author. The letters continued for over 25 years. The writer was never caught. So who really knew Circleville's secrets? Drop your theory below and follow for more unsolved American mysteries. December 1st, 1948. Somerton Beach, just south of Adelaide, Australia. It's early morning, warm for late spring. A man is spotted sitting propped against the seawall the previous evening. Witnesses notice him, think he's drunk, move on. By morning, he hasn't moved because he can't. He's dead. Police are called, and what they find is immediately strange. The man is well dressed, a nice suit, polished shoes, a tie. He looks by all accounts like a respectable man. Someone's husband, maybe. Someone's father. But there is no wallet, no identification of any kind, no keys, no travel ticket, no cash except for a few coins. And here's what stops investigators cold. Every single label has been removed from his clothing. Every one. Cut out cleanly. His shirt, his jacket, his trousers, his tie, even his shoes. Whoever this man was, he did not want to be found. Or someone didn't want him found. Authorities run fingerprints. They turn up nothing. They check missing persons reports across Australia. Nothing. They go international. Still nothing. The autopsy comes back, and even there, the story refuses to cooperate. The pathologist notes the man appears to be in excellent physical condition, muscular, fit, well-nourished, and yet the cause of death cannot be definitively determined. There are signs that suggest poisoning, but no poison is identified. The Somerton Man is buried without a name, and that is only the beginning. Months pass. The case goes cold, but it doesn't die, because in Australia this story is already spreading. People are unsettled by it. A handsome, healthy, well-dressed man, dead on a public beach, with no identity and no known cause of death. Then, in July of 1949, 7 months after the body is found, detectives take another close look at the clothing, and this time, they find it. A fob pocket. A small, concealed pocket sewn into the waistband of the man's trousers. It's the kind of pocket that tailors stopped making decades earlier. Inside it, a tightly rolled scrap of paper, 2 printed words, Tamam Shud, Persian. Roughly translated, it is ended, it is finished. The phrase comes from the final page of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, a collection of 12th century Persian poetry, well known in the English-speaking world through a famous Victorian translation. The verses deal with fate, with pleasure, with the passage of time, and with the acceptance of death. Police release news of the paper to the public and ask a simple question. Does anyone have a copy of the Rubaiyat with its last page torn out? A man in Adelaide comes forward. He says he found a copy of the book in the back seat of his unlocked car around the time of the Somerton Man's death. He hadn't thought much of it at the time. Police examine the book. The torn edge of the last page matches the scrap found on the body. Then, under ultraviolet light, something else appears on the back inside cover. Faint indentations, as if someone had pressed hard while writing on a page placed on top of it. What they find there will haunt this case for decades. But first, there's a phone number. And this is where the story stops making sense. Written in the back cover of that book are two things. First, a local Adelaide phone number. Second, a block of handwritten letters, 5 lines, seemingly random, broken into groups. Investigators and later cryptographers, including teams with intelligence backgrounds, study the sequence for years, decades. Some believe it is a one-time cipher, the kind used by intelligence agencies during the Cold War, essentially unbreakable without the matching key. Others suggest it might not be a code at all, but rather initials or shorthand notes of some kind. To this day, the Somerton Man's code has never been officially solved. But the phone number, that one leads somewhere. Police trace it to a nurse living in North Adelaide, a young woman we'll refer to here by the name she was known by publicly in the investigation, Justin. Investigators show her a cast made of the Somerton Man's face. According to those investigators, she becomes visibly distressed. She reportedly says she may know who the man is, and then she says nothing more. She does not identify him. She gives no further statement of value. She carries that silence until her death. Investigators would later learn, according to reporting done decades after the case, that Justin had a son born around that time. A son who reportedly bore a strong physical resemblance to the Somerton Man. Same unusual ear shape, same rare dental characteristics. The implication was obvious to many who followed the case, but it was never confirmed. Not then. The decades pile up. The Somerton Man stays buried in West Terrace Cemetery in Adelaide, his grave marked simply with the name the public gave him. Researchers write books, documentaries get made. Amateur investigators and professional ones circle back to the same unanswerable questions. Who was he? Where did he come from? Cold War context is impossible to ignore. It is 1948. The Iron Curtain has just descended across Europe. Intelligence agencies from multiple countries are running active operations across the globe. The Venona Project, the American effort to decrypt Soviet communications, is in full swing, though that won't be public knowledge for years. And here is a man with no identity, possibly poisoned, possibly carrying an encrypted message on a beach in southern Australia, which at that time was in close proximity to highly classified British and Australian defense testing sites at Woomera. One theory suggests he was a spy, either burned by his own side or eliminated by an adversary. Another suggests he was a man in personal crisis, perhaps running from something or someone who chose to end his life by a method that left no trace. A third theory, one that gained traction in later years, suggests his identity was deliberately protected by people who knew exactly who he was. And remember that open loop from the beginning of this story. That phone number, that woman who went pale, that thread never tied off cleanly. It still hasn't. In 2022, 74 years after a man was found dead on a beach with no name, a team led by researcher Derek Abbott and molecular anthropologist Colleen Fitzpatrick announced a result from advanced DNA analysis conducted after the Somerton Man's remains were exhumed. Their findings pointed to a man named Carl Webb, a tool maker and instrument maker from Victoria, Australia, born in 1905. According to investigators, Webb's DNA, traced through living relatives, was consistent with the Somerton Man's profile. South Australian police have stated they are satisfied with this identification, though as of this recording, it has not been officially closed at every legal level. Carl Webb. A real person, a name finally. But here is the thing, and this is the part that keeps researchers awake. Identifying a name does not answer the deeper questions. Why were his labels removed? What is the code in the back of that book? What was his connection to the woman with the phone number? Why does the cause of death remain even now unclear? A name tells you who someone was. It does not always tell you what happened to them or why. The Somerton Man now has a name. The Somerton case still does not have an answer. You came into this story asking what it means when a man disappears, when every label is gone, every document is missing, and the only thing left is 2 words from a Persian poem. It is finished, but nothing about this case is finished. Not really. Carl Webb, a toolmaker, a man born in 1905 who died on a beach in 1948 and wasn't named for 74 years. Whether he was a spy, a man in despair, or something else entirely, the record still won't say. The code in that book has never been solved. The full story of his connection to that woman, to that phone number, to those 2 words in his hidden pocket, none of it is resolved. Some cases leave you with a who. The Somerton case still owes us the why. The cold archive never closes a file. What do you think happened? Tell us in the comments and subscribe because the next file is already open.